Hello, Anjali. Can you please introduce yourself to the Japan CPO Association?
Hi, Ken. I'm excited to be here. I'm Anjali. I'm a product lead at a fintech company called Square. It's now called Block. We used to be previously called Square. Prior to Square, I spent a number of years at Salesforce as an engineer and also a product manager. I got my bachelor's in computer science back in India, and I came to the United States to do my graduate studies. And after I graduated, I got a job as a software engineer at Intel, and then I moved to Salesforce. Product management was not a popular career at that time in the early 2000s, like you probably know this. But larger companies like Microsoft and Salesforce had product managers. So when I joined Salesforce, I joined as an engineer, and you were the first product manager I actually worked with at Salesforce. So I'm thankful to you. You took me to customer meetings, and I got the opportunity to see what that process was talking to customers and taking what we learned from there to our team, and then creating roadmaps and figuring out what to build. So that actually helped me really get excited about product management. And eventually I moved to product management essentially for two reasons. The first one was I enjoyed talking to people and I enjoy problem solving. So product management, I think, is a good mixture of both of these. And secondly, as I was thinking about my career as an engineer, I could grow to become an architect or an engineering manager. But I think to me, product management was more interesting. And because of these reasons, I decided to transition to product manager. And I've been a product manager for a few years. And I feel with each year, I'm loving it more and more.
So can you tell us about what your product management role at Square?
Yeah. So at Square, I lead a product team who builds foundational commerce platform features, as well as products for our sellers to set up and manage their business. So both hardware and software. So essentially, the commerce platform powers the rest of the products in our ecosystem.
Can you explain sort of the platform strategy at Block?
Yeah. So Square started with a strong mission of economic empowerment. Essentially, we wanted our businesses to be able to participate in the economy, right? Even if you're a farmer's market vendor, you should be able to take payments very easily without having to invest a lot of money in systems. So we started with that mission. And over the last few years, we have grown to build an ecosystem of products and provide a complete solution for our businesses. So starting from our payment products to building payroll and employee management to building gift card systems, marketing systems. So any tool our sellers want, we want to offer those solutions to them. And essentially our strategy is to build a platform, a commerce platform, which can enable us to move fast and build economies at scale. So our commerce platform powers different verticals, right? These businesses are very different. There are restaurants to retail to beauty and fitness businesses. They all have different needs, but we are building some of those foundational features as a part of our platform, which enables our vertical teams to move faster. And in addition to that, we are building this platform to enable third parties, our partners and developers, to extend the system. So if there is a very specialized business, suppose there is a contract business who are taking payments for building contracts they have, our third party partners are able to extend our platform and build that solution for this particular sub vertical. And this extensible strategy enables us to build our first party products faster, also enable third parties to extend our systems to build more solutions.
How does that product strategy from Square fit into the entire integration or platform strategy for Block?
Yeah. So essentially within Block, our parent company, we have 4 ecosystems. We have our seller ecosystem, which is Square. And we have like our buyer ecosystem, which is a Cash App. And we have our crypto investments, and we have like our fourth ecosystem for artists called Tidal. So we've started to like integrate and kind of bring these ecosystems closer. There are lots of opportunities, right? Like we have our seller ecosystem and buyer ecosystem, and we can connect them to create like, scale and create like these opportunities. And that's kind of what we are doing currently. During COVID, we built this integration. I was actually a part of this team that enabled buyers to pay Square sellers using Cash App. So on Square checkout, like buyers could scan a QR code and pay using Cash App without having to touch the point of sale system, which was a concern at that time because there could be germs which are transferred. So this was an opportunity which we unlocked like pretty fast, right? Because on both sides, on Cash App sides and on Square side, like we had extensible platforms to enable this integration. So we have like other opportunities to connect these ecosystems, and that's kind of like what we are currently working on.
Great. So I'm going to kind of ask you a comparative question. So you've worked on platforms and integrations at Salesforce and platforms and integrations at Square, and you've sort of worked on obviously on strategy and then also the implementation. But are there any sort of differences between the way the two companies do it to build their strategy and actually implement them?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And I think I'll start with similarities because there are a lot of similarities between like Salesforce and Square and the strategies. So Salesforce actually started off as a platform first company, right? Like there was like, if you remember, we had this value like true to the core, meaning like, let's build a feature like into the platform before like we start building on top of it. So I think like that value like helped Salesforce like a lot, and they've grown so much in the last few years, right? And Square strategy is similar. Like we are taking a platform first approach and essentially like building products on top of that. So in that way, like we are similar, and we are also tapping into the partner ecosystem by enabling third parties to extend our platform. So in those ways, like we are similar. I think one difference that I see is essentially like Salesforce is catering to like really like large organizations, right? Like they have like State Farm and Bank of America, some really large organization, and they're operating at scale, and they're like an extremely flexible system. While like with Square, like we started with brick and mortar businesses, like really like small businesses like farmers market and food trucks. And to us, like upmarket are still like businesses like Chase Stadium are what we considered upmarket, not at the same scale as Salesforce. But like one of the things that we are trying to do is, even as we go upmarket, we don't want to like leave our micro sellers behind. And our strategy is very much like, we're building flexible platform, but we are also building really simple tools which sellers of any size can build. So like we're focusing both on like platform and product as we think about like our growth.
You mentioned that that Square is now is learning about the processes to go upmarket. And so can you explain what changes to the platform that need to be made to support the upmarket and as you grow your business?
So my team at Square actually like exists to like recognize like how upmarket is different from the rest of the businesses like we are building solutions for today, and build those foundational platform functionality to support growth. So one of the features like we are currently working on is custom attributes, enabling our sellers to like extend and personalize Square for their needs. For example, like, I spoke to like a business who hosts book fairs this week. So they host like thousands of book fairs like every year. and they need the ability to track information which is custom to them, right? They host book fairs at specific schools or universities. They have their own mechanism to get volunteers to participate at these fairs. So they need custom capability to track the custom information for their business. And my team is supporting the ability for our sellers to add this custom business and have custom workflows around it. So that's one of the ways we're helping grow up market.
Right. So I imagine that you talk to a lot of customers with all these different needs. How does your team and the company prioritize all these requirements that come in from all these merchants and sellers?
Yeah, and I think as product managers, I think it's really important to have a framework for prioritization and align with your team on prioritization frameworks. Not one framework works for every team and every company. So I think it's important for you to figure out what is best suited for your needs. So we have a similar prioritization framework for my teams. Essentially, we look at 3 dimensions. We look at impact of a specific feature to our sellers, right? What value are we adding through that feature? And then we look at effort as the other dimension. And then we are also looking at risks, how likely are we to be successful with our initiatives to drive towards that outcome. So we use basically these 3 dimensions and score our different initiatives, and then or stack rank them.
Great. And is that a collaborative process between the engineers and the product managers, or the product manager? And then also in terms of sort of the larger team and organization, is there a prioritization process within that, or are the prioritizations that you make sort of just do you just run and go and build those?
Yeah, we often within Square, or within the industry, I think there is the term triad, which has started to catch on, but actually it is or 3-legged stool, or I call it 4-legged stool. Mm-hmm. Essentially, there is product, there is design, there is engineering, and then there is data science. I feel for a successful team to function, you essentially need to align across all these functions. And currently, within my teams, essentially we involve all these 4 functions to make a decision. And then again, there are different types of decisions, but essentially once we have a point of view within our team, we bubble it up to our leadership.
And can you tell us about the product org at Square? How is it organized, and are there any similarities or differences to some other places that you've worked at?
So Square has a GM structure. So we have a general manager per business unit, and each business unit has 1 or more products, right? So we have a GM for our point of sale products. So that person is responsible for point of sale apps we have, and then we have another GM for restaurants and another one for retail. And each of these GMs have all the functions required to make their product successful under them. So this is engineering, product marketing. So all of these functions report up to the GM. And this essentially helps us make decisions quicker, right? The GM can kind of make decisions across all the functions. And while I think Salesforce has moved towards a GM model from what I can tell now, but I remember when we worked at Salesforce, there was a period of time where we had a chief product officer, and all the product manager reported up to chief product officer. And then we had a CTO, and all the engineers reported up to the CTO. I think there are pros and cons to both these structures, right? The pro of having a CTO and CPO and have the product and engineering report up to these functions is it kind of it helped better with large initiatives that required multiple teams to participate. The CPO could set the priorities for the entire organization, and say that go and work on this. And with the GM organization or the GM structure, the advantage is that essentially there is more alignment between the different functions, between engineering and product. I feel like there's less if engineering and product disagree, GM is the tiebreaker, and it also is a way to help facilitate faster decision making.
What type of person do you look for when you're building out a product management team?
So at a high level, I think there are two types of skills, right? There's the PM skills, collaboration, communication, how process oriented they are, are they curious? And then there is the domain expertise. Do they for platform teams, you do need some technical skills. And on my hardware team, you do need some device skills. I feel like PM skills are usually table stakes, right? It's hard to teach those things. And generally, PM jobs are not entry-level jobs in most companies. There are APM programs in a lot of companies, but generally PM jobs are require people to come in with some experience. So I feel like PM skills are non-negotiable. So I make sure a PM we are hiring has strong PM skills. But domain knowledge, I think it's preferable, but it's not a deal breaker.
Do you have any advice to a younger version of yourself, either while you're still an engineer or thinking about becoming a product manager or an earlier product manager?
It's all about kind of being intentional. I think I mentioned this a bit, but being intentional about your career. And I think that can help you a lot. Kind of setting goals for yourself and working towards it, and product managing your own life, right? That has helped me a lot. And also the other advice I have is, if you're in a job and you're not, when you get up in the morning and you're not excited to go to work, right? You're just not happy. I feel like PMs have this inherent nature to keep trying something. You never give up. So my other advice is if you're in that position and you're not able to change the culture where you are, or you're still unhappy after trying, I would say try something different, right? Don't there are a lot of different opportunities. Don't get bogged down in something and keep trying if it's not making you happy.
Great. So do you have a final message to the audience in Japan?
I really enjoyed talking to you. And I would say when I just started at Square, one of the first projects I worked on was a product launch in Japan. Some of my team had been to Japan just a few weeks before I joined, and they basically wrote up this doc. And it was really interesting to learn how commerce happens in Japan, and how very respectfully the buyer respectfully hands over the credit card to the seller. And it was really interesting. And it really helped us kind of figure out what are these cultural nuances as we try to build a product. So a great product has a product manager who understands these nuances, in my opinion. And I would say understand your customers, get into learn who are the different users for your product, and try to as you're doing those, as you're doing the research, as you're talking to your customers, understand those nuances and build that into your product. And if you bring the customer learnings and kind of take it and build your product based on that, you'll build a great product.
Great. Thank you, Anjali. I wish that you have an opportunity to come do some research in Japan again.
Yes, I would love that. I haven't been to Japan, and I'm really looking forward to coming to Japan someday.